2 hours. That is when actually exhaustion starts kicking in. So you can imagine if you do just 1 hour, you may run out of time. So today I want to pick for my preaching a reading from the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 7, 11 to 12. Jesus raises widow's son. Soon after, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother. She was a widow. A large crowd from the town was with her, and when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up and touched the coffin, and those carrying it stood still, and he said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. They were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. "God has come to help his people." This news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. The word of the Lord. So I picked this reading because I want us to give it a theme. I don't know what you have in your mind. What could be the theme? And Cedric, thank you very much for leading us through. I really appreciate it. Bishop, though you did not teach me till 111, at least this reading should have a theme. Yes, thank you very much, Lily. And I'm not very good at singing, but you will have to bear with me. I want to give you a hint through a song. I don't know, the team here, you may help me if I lose the tune, okay? But you remember this song that goes, "Majina yote mazuri ni yako, Jehova muumbaji wangu, nikupe jina gani kwani kila la heri ni upekee wangu. Majina yote mazuri ni yako, Jehova muumbaji wangu, nikupe jina gani kwani kila la heri ni upekee wangu. Remember that part? Umeniponya na kuita Jehova Rafa, kwa sababu wewe ni Mungu mponaji wangu. Nikuite Mwokozi kwa sababu wewe umeniokoa, umekuwa mkombozi wangu, na nikupee jina lingine kama Jehova Nisi, bendera ya ushindi wangu. I love that song because you wonder what nice names, what precious names you would give God. Now what would be the theme of that reading, that gospel reading? Jehovah the Comforter. The worst thing that could have happened to you in the Jew community in those days is if you lost your husband. You are nothing as a baby. You lose everything. You lose even yourself. and you become like the wife of the community. It was that serious. You didn't have any right. Some theologians would say, reason being, okay, it's a parable, yes, and but this is a real occurrence. It happened apart from just parables and all that. But from the parables that you were taught by Jesus, is a time that God found it was the right time for him to visit his own people. Jesus was God, and that's why we say the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Because it was always the Word from creation. The only time that God kind of appeared, at the first point, it was his hand. It was written to a king on the wall. The other time, as fire, burning a bush that. Okay? And that's the only time he called himself his name. He said, I am. Even to the point of when Jesus was being crucified, he was asked, who are you? He said, I am. If you follow the passion of Christ, at one point when he was being asked, then who are you? If you're not the king of the Jews, you say, I am. You say, I am. Widows were ignored. And we can attest this according to still the Gospel of St. Luke. Most of the parables are there. The parable of that persistent widow, that is Luke 18, 1 to 8. That persistent widow to that very unjust judge. Her persistence made the judge change his mind. So it gives up a picture of people who are so much ignored. It was so bad that, leave alone that they didn't have the right, men took advantage of this widow. That unfortunately, bishops, reverend, also we took advantage of them. I'm not seeing you right now. It's there. If you just read Matthew 28:14, widows were taken advantage of. And the summary of it, the pretense of Pharisees enabled them to devour widows' house. They went there pretending they are having long prayers and pray, but were doing the other funny things. It's very unfortunate. But in as much as there were people who were just being used, others they had their own stand. And God also used them to take care and comfort his chosen one. Remember 1 King chapter 17, 7 to 16. Prophet Elijah and the widow at Zarephath. He kept that prophet alive. That jar of, oil and the flour never ended. The stock kept replenishing itself miraculously. So also God has a space. He says actually he's the husband of the widows and he's the father of the orphans. They should never be left out. And they should never feel as if they are nothing. As per the elders of the Jews then. Coming to that, we see here in this gospel that I just read, we have a multitude of people going to Nain and another one from the city going somewhere. And my question to you is, there is a group that is led by life, that is going to the city, and another group, a group led by death in a coffin. So my question is, which group do you belong to? Are you in the group that was following Jesus? Or are you in the group that was following them? Because basically it happens when we are burying our loved ones, we always have the coffin in front of us. Unfortunately today I terrorize you, Bishop, because I think I will not have any other opportunity. So most of us, where do we belong? Where do we belong? Are we that crowd that was following Jesus, or we are that crowd that was, following the dead man, young man? Exactly. I forgot that part of the scripture, that in order for a wheat grain to grow, it must die. It must die. We cannot avoid. For us to get to heaven, we must die. Sorry to say that. Maybe I gave a very wrong impression that most people would say, for us we follow Jesus. But remember, what happened would not have time to brag. In fact, among the super rich, those who are born in wealth, they have nothing to brag about. Their mentality is, how can I help somebody? And where are these people that I can help? They don't have time to brag to you. They drive some of the biggest cars. They live in a palacial home. That is for their own comfort because they can afford it. They use that luxurious car because he's not looking at it as a luxury. He's looking at it, one, for comfort, and a car that is secure. In case there is an accident, they are safe inside it. But for this other group, this other crowd who are following the dead body, for them it is a tool of bragging to you, Bishop, mimi nimefika. I have reached. Amefika wapi? Amefika wapi? How many people tumeona wanadhani wamefika and they retire as paupers? They even their old age becomes very miserable. In fact, I remember yesterday we were talking with somebody, and it was about this thing. There's a lot of anger among people, and there's this phobia of being poor, being broke. Okay, that is leading people to go to these funny extents of doing whatever just to stay rich. And even if they become rich, they are not wealthy, they are just rich. Wealth is totally different. They keep on just accumulating this richness, but in their old age, even they don't enjoy whatever they accumulated. And he gave me of a politician that he was very close to. He's a Kalenjin. And he said that he died a very miserable life. It happened that we had visited one of his hotels as KeMU. We had gone for these university exhibitions, and we happened to go to Nairobi. So if you know the name of Nairobi, you know who I'm talking about. And very posh. In fact, that is where Bill Gates spent his time when he was in Kenya in Rift Valley and Nandi. As we are enjoying there, he doesn't have even, he was not secure to have time in his own hotel with people. He didn't even have a chef. He never owned a cell phone because he was afraid of being tracked. He used to use the cell phone of his aide. Anytime he would go to eat, food was served to everyone, all his security people, and he would pick one of the food for him to eat because he was being afraid of being poisoned. Very miserable life. When he was invited in family functions, it was a family function, he was celebrating. One good friend of mine, she is in her 70s. We were there to celebrate her with her children and the grandchildren. She comes also from Moibe, but she had come to visit us where I live. And these were the stories I was being given because they are neighbors. Whenever there was a family function, I'm telling you, let me call him just my friend because we are Christian. You know those B14 Nissans? He had 4 of them with the number plates following each other. There was one that was to be parked somewhere on the road. He would come, get there, get to this one. Afike pale, kuna ingine imefichwa sijui sehemu gani ya shamba ya nani ya kwa his own brother. Akimaliza hivi, you not eat anything, apeane speech yake, apeane tu pesa, atoke hapo aingie kwa hiyo B14, hiyo B Nissan nyingine. It was such a miserable life. And he was asking me, why? But still people from his community don't understand. They have not seen that. Why? Because then, you can imagine where they are falling. They're just falling there. They are widowed in terms of their faith. But the most powerful thing is that there's always that crowd that is following Jesus. Already they are there together. And they will meet. No matter what that thing may appear, you will be shocked. I was saying that you will be shocked the day when you get to heaven, they are among the people that are going to Karibisha. My Julie said how? Because at some point they met with Jesus and his team. I don't know, I don't have so much time with me. I have to check because I want to share more. But just let me just take a minute or two. We give our reading a theme. Jehovah the Comforter. Is Rapha, Ndiye Mwokozi, Jehovah Nisi. All those sweet names that you may give God are true. I don't know which other precious names you ought to give God. If God would pick, I don't want to dwell so much. I was in a forum, we discussed about, you can imagine the entire town, a large multitude of the entire town were following the lady. The lady must have really benefited from this lady. And it's kind of, in as much as you are the most useless person, somebody is used, at least that time, the village of Naim showed some empathy. And when you hear a crowd in the Jew, they never used to count women and children. So it was only men. So you can imagine it was a large crowd of men getting from Naim and then the other one getting to the town. And here they are meeting. Unlike the way we had our recent protest between the JEHOVAH and the police, I hear the JEHOVAH were so organized. There were 2 groups here. One would go, they cool a tear gas with the police. When they feel it, they come back. Wakirudi, somebody was observing from her, my colleague. The other team wanaingia. Wanakula tear gas. I'm telling you, by the 4th round, this guy is going the 2nd time, the police have run out of tear gas. It was not that way. These are teams that met, they became one. Jesus resurrected the Son. People saw hope in God. People saw greatness in God. They saw God had visited them, but they did not go, that God was present with them. They called him a prophet. Remember, even in one of the Gospels, Jesus was asking his disciples, as you guys go there preaching and mingling with people, who do people say that I am? So most of the disciples responded, but one of the great prophets who has come, okay, a special person who has been sent by God, but I think it's only Peter who had the guts of saying that you are Jesus, Son of God, something close to that. Then they proclaimed about a gospel. But there is one thing they said, that surely God has visited this village. And for sure his presence was there, even if they did not see. Why? Because even in another gospel, it says that God is very interesting. He only opens his eyes and ears to the little ones, not the very educated people like us. Not the people who have done so much theology to PhD and postdoc and have been professors. There are things that pass us. But those little ones who have not gone to any theological school, the believers, they are able to see. It happens. It is natural. There is nothing to be sorry about, and there is nothing to feel so bitter that I have done so much research, I have read that this passes me. God knows who he chooses to receive that message or that special gift or his favor. Praise God. I would like to invite Edith to close for us with a prayer regarding our today's gospel, because I see already my time is up, so that I'm able now to introduce my team. Thank you.